Well, hello, Miles. Welcome to the Red Chair.
Hello, hello.
I am so excited for today's conversation. You are a massive inspiration to the real estate community here in Kansas City. So I'm excited today to just kind of learn a little bit more about your story, your history, and all things Miles.
Well, okay. Well, let's do
I
this.
know, buckle up, right? Here we go. Well, Miles, tell us a little bit about Miles before real estate. Tell us a little bit about your background growing up.
Yeah. Born and raised in Topeka, Kansas, and then went off to University of Kansas in Lawrence, and proud Jayhawker,
Nice.
which is actually a pretty big part of my business. And then was a business major. I was a big athlete growing up, and was actually going to go to Baker University to play football. But the
Yes.
Johns family, they were there before me. And then I just decided, that's not going to be paying the bills. I need to get down to business. And I also wanted to have a little bit of fun in college too. So I went to KU, and then knew that I was relational. I knew sales, talking with people was kind of what I wanted to do. So I got into business school and got my degree in business administration. And towards the end of college, I was like, all right, I want to get into sales. And at that time, medical sales was the thing, right?
Right.
Really great pay, great benefits. It was just, it was the trajectory of what you could, do and work your way up. I knew I wanted to make money,
Yeah.
and that was a big industry at that time. So I got into medical sales right out of college, and then moved from Lawrence, Kansas City, and then worked my way up with the big pharmaceutical company there, and then moved to Scottsdale, Arizona for a little bit, and then knew that I'm a true Kansas boy at heart,
Mm.
and I love this state. I love my university, I love Kansas City. And so after kind of working my way up there and living in Scottsdale, I knew I wanted to marry my wife, got engaged,
Yeah.
and then was like,
Did y'all meet in college or
we
in
did.
okay.
She's a Town girl. I'm a T-Town boy, and she's from Wichita. And we met at college, got set up by our roommates in college. And so then I was like, all right, I want to settle down. And I knew Kansas City is where I wanted to raise my family. So big into family, and we wanted to be close to hers and mine. And I knew that Kansas City, living in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, too big for me. Like, it was a lot of money, a lot of things. I mean, Kansas City has a lot of money too, but just too big for me. I tell all of our clients, actually, Kansas City is the smallest big city. So of all the metropolitans, Kansas City to me is the smallest. And I can go. My kids will tell you, it's you can go to any restaurant, any Chiefs game, any Royals game, KU games, grocery store, whatever. You just run into people you know.
That's right.
That's what I love about this town. So I knew this was where I wanted to be and settle down. I knew I'd be a lifer in Kansas City. So we got engaged, and then ended up taking another job here, medical sales in Kansas City. And so then from that, my backstory kind of was in medical sales. I also invested in small companies, and was actually invested in the bars.
Wow.
We had 2 bars in Lawrence and 2 in Topeka. And that's how I paid my way through school, was bartending.
Okay.
And my older brother was in the bar business, and a local company here, long with the short, ended up my senior year wanting to sell one of the bars in Lawrence. So I called my brother. I was like, hey, we need to scrounge some money together. We need to get another partner. One of my best friends got involved in the deal, and we ended up buying a bar, and then we ended up with 4. Fast forward, being in medical sales, we ended up, I got married, my brother got married, my buddy was getting married. And so we were like, this is time to sell. We need to get out. And that's how I got then into real estate. Was I took the money from the sale of those and started investing in real estate. And so that's kind of the backstory of where I'm from and
Yeah.
how I got into real estate. And then I was like, all right, medical sales is not for me,
Mhm.
of going up the corporate ladder. And I knew I always kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And then after all the research and where do I invest? What do I invest in? How do I do this? I just, every book, everything I absorbed was, people made their wealth in real estate.
That's right.
And so that is what really then kind of got me. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Mhm.
actually on my honeymoon. And that's then when I was like, all right, I'm going to start dumping some money into it and started buying rental properties.
Mhm.
And then I loved that. So I started buying rehabs. And then I was doing enough business that I was like, all right, I'm going to get my license. And then I was like, all right, it's time to jump ship full time.
So you really started as an investor.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%
Okay.
investor first.
So investments, was it that first 1 mile? It sounds like once you sold the bars and you had that capital outlay that allowed you to then jump in as investing. Did any of the commercial piece, did that interest you, or was it more
No, it's just residential.
okay.
Because from what I kind of learned and people I talked with, it was just like with the rental business. I had a couple of my people that I knew that had rental properties. And one of the best pieces of advice I got from them was, well, I was like, where do I invest? How do I invest? What do I do? And a couple of the people that I sought their advice on were like, stay with what you know.
Yeah.
Like, don't try to go outside of where
Mhm.
your comfort zone isn't. And so they were like, buy in the areas that you know, buy in the areas you know people that would rent from you, buy in areas that you feel are going to appreciate and be good. I learned a good piece of advice. It was, you know, everybody wants to do cash flow and appreciation at the same time. And the people I talked with and what I've learned over the years, it's one or the other.
That's right.
If you can do both, everybody would be doing that. So I kind of stuck with what I know, which was the areas that I knew. And I saw in Kansas City at that time, everybody that would either graduate from KU or K-State or Mizzou, they wanted to live down by the plaza.
Hmm.
And I'm like, there's just this influx. It's kind of like colleges of people, just the turnover every year. So I stayed with what I knew. And I was like, everybody's buying down there. So I bought my first property in Prairie Village and then in Roland Park and kind of concentrated in there. And then I started working my way out to Overland Park and Olathe. And I kind of went for more middle end, not low end properties.
Mhm.
Because I was banking on
It
appreciation
was
and
like
I didn't want
B-class properties.
maybe
A.
more A, like,
Hmm.
but I wanted to go after either college students, young professionals,
Mhm.
newlywed people, or professionals might be in a divorce situation, people just moved here from out of state for a new job, people that I knew that, I wasn't gonna have to chase down the rent,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so people with good high credit scores. So I bought nicer properties, but, I knew we vetted them to be able to make sure they could make the rents. And we had, and our vacancy rate was always very low because we bought it in very desired areas.
Sure.
But we didn't cash flow that much.
Right.
But we held them for 15 years, paid down mortgages, and
Basically
then
got a free property.
yeah, and I mean, I didn't pay them all off, but we got pretty close.
Mm.
And then with I have 4 kids and, got 1 in college now and 3 in high school. I was like, "All right, market's hot these
Yeah.
last, 3, 4 years." I was like, "For once in my life, I'm gonna pull a Warren Buffett, buy low, sell high." And I
Mm.
was like, it's just so hard to time real estate, right? Let alone anything. But I was like, "All right, I've done that chapter in my life. I got a lot of expenses coming up with college
Right.
and other stuff that, the expenses of running a household of 6 people, so I decided to sell that at the peak, and then eventually maybe I'll get back into it again. So,
So do you still have any of
I
your
have no more rentals. I
no
sold
more?
them all.
Okay.
Now I've got, I vested in, farm ground, so I've
Okay.
got farmland that is, income properties for me, and then we still renovate houses. I'll buy them, fix them up, and
Mhm.
sell them as we see them. Predominantly as representing people buying and selling properties, but I think we've done over my career, over 20 years, I've done 58 houses.
Wow.
So months.
Bought and
Bought,
rehabbed.
renovated, and sold them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love that side of the business. I just absolutely love it.
There's just something so amazing about taking an ugly house, no matter what, and then just turning it into something somebody would wanna live in, raise a family in. There's just such a pride, I'm sure, for you
Yeah.
in that.
I kinda got it, I got the trait from my mom. She was an interior designer decorator,
Yeah.
and I think I kinda got the eye from her from that standpoint. I feel like I have a pretty good vision of being able to see what it can be, and I grew up, in Topeka, kind of in an older part of the neighborhood, older part of Topeka in a neighborhood that just, a lot of Tudors and colonials and, like, just classic
Mm.
type homes, and so, just saw the need kinda in and around the plaza areas where we started,
Yeah.
when my first flip I did was in Prairie Village because that was the market I knew, right?
Right.
Or Cape Cod. And somehow I just had that vision, and I leaned on one of my older brothers who was in the construction business, trying to pick his brain and finding other people that had done it, and what are the pros and the cons. But the joy of, one, having the vision, and two, what it can become, right, as you
Mhm.
said, but then also really rehabilitating neighborhoods,
That's
right?
right.
So at the end of the day, like, I mean, there's nothing worse than if you own a home and then your next door neighbor just gets completely dilapidated and not taken care of, and you're pouring all this money, time, and effort
Yeah.
into a house, and the ones next door may not be great. I mean, the praises that I get from all of these neighbors is awesome, let alone the praises from the people who end up buying it, and the buyer's agents, is one thing that really fuels my fire, because you're doing something good for not only the buyer, the buyer's agent, for us making money, but the neighborhood rehabilitating, not going on the urban sprawl, right?
Right.
Kansas City, we're not landlocked in the sense we can keep going out. I love the inner city, and it's just something that is a lot of fun that we really enjoy.
And I mean, just that to get to do that to a neighborhood and watch it over time grow, and like you said, what happens in those areas just really begins to blossom
Right.
and brings you so much, I'm sure, joy.
It does, and one of the things we try to differentiate ourselves when we do that, when we buy houses and flip them, and we're not seeking it every day, right? There's
Right.
plenty of agents in our office that do that, and
Right.
they're awesome, and that's a big part of the
Absolutely.
business. It's kinda, we take it to our investors first. If they don't want it, or to our buyer, if they don't want it, then it's kinda like, "Okay, well, if they don't want it, would you," and we always ask for permission from them if we showed it to them.
Mhm.
If you I believe in it so much, I would buy it, and if you don't wanna buy it, or do you care if I do, right? And
Right.
then that also builds credibility with our clients, like, "Man, this guy's serious," and then when they see that I end up buying it, they're like, "Man, okay, this guy's putting his money where his mouth is," right?
Right.
So, within that, it's just one thing that we try to differentiate ourselves from other renovators is, I learned it from a mentor of mine, which is, can you put your name to it?
Mhm.
So the one thing that I love is the accountability I have to have
That's
when
right.
I buy a house and renovate it, is I'm working with all these other agents, right? We're a fairly good sized group. We sell a lot of real estate. I'm not going anywhere. So if I start cutting corners, I don't start doing the things that need to be done, those houses are going to start coming back. Those buyers are going to be going to the buyer's agent, and, I'm going to start to get a bad reputation. So it really holds me accountable, but I've always believed in, can you put your name to it? Right.
Mhm.
And I tell people, and I tell the clients or the prospective buyers, I'm going to renovate it like it's my own house. And I know everybody says that, but I think agents are held to a much higher
Absolutely.
standard, because if you want to be in this business long enough, right, we know that the top tier agents sell the majority of all the real estate in Kansas City. So you get a bad reputation, you're not going to get your
No.
properties sold.
And it's not long before it
Right.
comes back, over time, especially like you said, if your name and you put your name on something that longevity-wise, that's going to make the biggest impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Miles, tell me when you kinda made this like, you flipped a switch. You're all-in investor, you're buying properties. When did you decide, "Hey, I think I might try residential real estate?"
So it just probably just seeing enough properties. My mentor, in the my first real estate agent was Dan
Yeah.
Marie Odell, and just buying all those rentals, and buying all those investment properties. I just learned a lot,
Mm.
right? Just in the process of being the actual buyer,
Right.
not the agent, right? And then the desire to get into that, and kind of the entrepreneurial side, and being my own boss and holding myself accountable. That's what really kind of drove me into it, to where I could kind of do both and, right?
Right.
Um, and and from them, my mentors, Dan and Maria, they gave me the advice. Dan sat me down. He's like, "Hey, you can be buying rentals and you can be doing rehabs. If you're thinking about getting your license and becoming an agent, it's a whole nother ballgame." Like, he's like, "Here's the deal. You have to stop and pause what you're doing as an investor if you want to be a very successful agent."
Hmm.
And so I took his advice because, right, it's so hard to make it in this business. It's so hard to make a great living and a substantial long period of time in this business. And we're all about relationships and building that, and building it by referral. He was like, "Hey, if you want to do this, that like the burnout ratio is so fast, and
Yeah.
your first year is the hardest, and then you see maybe a turning point about 3 and then 5. Like you got to be able to withstand that. Now there's some very successful people that they are just on it and they can sell 20, 30, 40 houses, 50 houses the first year. That was not me. Like I think I might have sold 8 houses my first year,
Wow.
right?
Right.
So that advice of hey, you got to be all in
Mm.
and you got to serve your client first, and it's gonna take a while to do it. That really helped me then build my book, and then I was able to go back and continue doing my investment on the side, but, I needed to get where I needed to get as an agent
I mean,
first.
what great advice to really focus first on your client. I love how you really are customer client first, even in your investing, where like you mentioned before, if a deal comes across and it makes sense, I wanna offer it to my client first. It didn't stop you from investing, right?
Right, right.
But it made you focus first on that primary business,
Yeah,
and then if it still made sense, of course.
yeah.
Did that ever I'm sure it shows up, but how does that lend itself to coaching your clients in investing?
Yeah, so we really talk about not only what their immediate need is
Mhm.
now, but I talk about what's this picture look like in the next 5, 10, 15 years, right? You want to buy right. And it may not feel like you're getting the greatest deal, hypothetically, but what does that investment look like down the road, right?
Right.
What are the that's one thing that's kind of separated us a lot is we can look at the true bones of the house, right?
Sure.
I've had experience with, fixing a foundation of $45,000,
Yeah.
right? And moving structural load bearing walls and this, that, and
Mhm.
the other. We've bought houses where we tore off the roof and built up and built back. And so that construction side really gave me great experience to be able to advise them right. So advising him now of what's the condition, what are the capital improvements gonna be, how desired is that floor plan? But then on the exit strategy, like, what does that look like? What's the neighborhood? What are the surrounding, amenities? What are the things that are gonna draw buyers back to it? Like, one of our piece of advice that we swear by is, I don't wanna see you buy on a busy street, back to a busy street, or side to a busy street.
Mhm.
'Cause we look at real estate, and typically those are those listings that are sitting there
That's right.
forever, right?
Right.
And, yeah, you may be like, "Well, this is such a great deal." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a great deal now, but you're gonna have to give the great deal when you sell it."
Yes.
You're gonna get the haircut now, but you're also gonna give it then. Now in post-COVID, that helped. Some people were able to get by with unloading some of those properties
Sure.
then. But in normal markets and regular markets, those ones are gonna sit. So we at the end of the day, we tell our clients, "If you wanna buy it,
Yeah.
but we told you this is not what we would recommend."
Right.
And at the end of the day, they're gonna do what they wanna do.
And it's such good advice. It's like, I wanna be both your buyer's agent and your listing agent and counsel you from both perspectives, just like you mentioned. Well, Miles, you have built an incredible business, an incredible real estate business. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know the first year, like you mentioned, was a challenge. When did you begin to kind of feel like, you know what, we've got some momentum, the early years of building your business and what that kind of looked like?
Yeah. So I would and I tell most agents that talk to me and ask me that question, like, year 3 and year 5 were the big turning points for me, and
Mm,
that's where I see a lot of people, people can get burned out in the first year, right? You'll even know if you can make it or not, but you gotta it's the long haul.
yeah,
Year 3 was like, okay, we finally feel like the first year was, okay, we can do this, but we need to get a lot better. Year 3 was like, okay, I'm starting to see some fruits of our labor. So we build our business by referral. That is our probably 95% of our business, is relationship selling. So, but that is a lot longer to take
Right.
versus cold calling, door knocking, internet leads, all of the other avenues that you can do, which are great. There's plenty of people in our office that have mastered that,
Absolutely.
and I look up to and admire and I think are incredible. Now that didn't match with me. Like
Yeah.
I'm all about relationship. Like, let's go have a beer and let's build a relationship, or let's go to a Chiefs game, or let's go play some golf, or pickleball, whatever. Let's go to a kids sporting event, so on and so forth. And and it takes a longer time to cultivate that because they're not maybe necessarily in the market now,
Yeah.
but it might be the fruits of your labor might be in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And so and I try to teach my team that all the time, but those I have the tree with our CRM to be able to tell you that because I spent time with that person, being authentic, trying to build a relationship,
Mm.
right? And then eventually I don't come right out of the gate like, "Hey, I'm in this to build a relationship so I can get business from you someday." No, it's either I gotta click with you or not. And
Yeah.
if we have, you know, similar interests and we're like-minded people, then I'm gonna wanna hang around you, and I wanna build a relationship, and how can I help you? And it's all planting those seeds, right? And so if I can help them, in turn, I get a relationship back and have fun and do these things, and if you go into it with the intent that hopefully maybe then a byproduct of that
Mm.
is maybe getting a referral, right? I gotta earn their trust. They gotta know who
That's
I
right.
am. And they learn quickly with my personality. I build that trust with people. And then usually what ends up happening is they refer me to a family member or friend before they've even used me.
Wow.
And then when they hear, okay, they really did Miles and his team served them the right way, then it just makes it so much easier when the time comes for them to call upon us. But those take
Yeah.
a long time, and usually about 3 was a turning point, and then 5 was when I was like, year 5, I was like, "All right, I know that, I'm gonna have the ups and downs, but I'm now not laying awake at night every year wondering what's the year gonna be at the end, right?
Right.
We'll make it. It may not be where I met goal, or it may not be where we wanna be, but I'm not gonna be in a financial trouble situation. It just took a while to get there."
And it's that, that evolution of pouring into those relationships, like you said, mastering that referral business, and then seeing that over time begin to graduate out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's so easy. Initially, I think the thought for most new agents is I want to go after that easy, quick lead and not build the database referral play, which
Right.
over time yields so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I see also it's just like whether you're in new construction sales or you're, you know, with internet leads and all of those are incredible because you can grow your database so much faster.
Right.
But what I see the mistake of a lot of people do is then they don't then continue to build that relationship and serve them and reach out to them because they're on to the next
Mm.
deal, right? And their volume and transactions, and they gotta get rolling. But there's so much of that then is left on the table.
Yeah.
If you could then put them into that, you have a system for that. If you have then a system to build that relationship so that, year 5, year 7, year 10, you're able to get them again as a repeat client. Like our ratio is and I know last I looked, it was above 80% that we keep repeat clients.
Mm.
We retain them. Now there's people that end up building. I had a very, very good friend that I grew up with in Topeka, and they called me and they were like, "Hey, Miles, we love everything about you. We bought like 5 homes from you,
Sure.
but we've built a new relationship with another agent. They're very close with us now, and they're some of our best friends. And it's nothing against you, but this is where our relationship is." And I was like, that's the one of the most kindest things that a client has ever done. Because typically what happens is you see it in the MLS, you see the sign in the yard. They're avoiding the
Right.
situation, right?
Right.
And when you know you've served them right, it's like, well, what did I do as an agent? How did I lose that business? And that was actually one of the greatest compliments I could ever gotten because they valued the relationship
Mm.
but they had a new relationship, right? Or if it's a family member, friend, whatever. And I was like, you know what? That meant so much to me because usually, you know, probably 9 out of 10
Right.
people are just gonna do the total avoidance
Yep.
thing, and then you're sitting there wondering, and I struggle with that. I don't like to lose, and number 2, it's like, I'm always trying to grow,
Mm.
I'm trying to change, I wanna be better, and then I'm like, "Well, what did I do to lose that?" Right? If there's nothing that hurts me more than losing a repeat client,
Sure.
'cause I can understand losing in a listing appointment, a buyer appointment. I'm going up with 3 other agents. Maybe I just wasn't the right fit for them. Um, and I'm always gonna ask them, "All right, what could have I done different? What were the needs that those agents met that I didn't?" So I can learn and grow from that. Those are easier to swallow than the ones that because I think if you use us and you see the level of service that my team provides and the advice that they and I provide and what we do for them, I'm very confident we're gonna get them back again.
Yeah.
So then when we end up losing a repeat client, that's the one that stings the most because they got to experience it,
Sure.
and typically they've had a good experience. And if they didn't, we usually have a sense of it, and we're gonna try to make it right,
Right.
right? Can you put your name to it?
Yep. Miles, you've been in business now, almost couple decades.
Yeah, I think, 22 years and
22 years.
so on, yeah, yeah.
What are some of the I mean, you've faced a lot of different markets now, you faced some challenges. What were some of you know, the most challenging moments of your real estate career or the lessons that you learned along the way that really stood out to you?
Yeah. I'm a little bit opposite than most, and I think I've talked about this here at KW before. It's like and I learned from one of my mentors, Brian Buffini, it's kinda like when everybody else is getting out of the market, right, and the market's turning, that's when you turn up the heat.
Mm,
You try to grow and gain that market share. So in every downturn and every bad thing that happens, we typically grow and get better.
wow.
But then when the market's so hot, like what we just came out of,
Right.
we did fine through those, but, like, there was people that just had complete double, triple business. We didn't we grew, but we didn't experience these crazy growths. Our crazy growths have been during the down times. So probably the most challenging market, which is the most growth that we ended up having actually, was during the great real estate recession, right? And, we really leaned into building relationships with banks. And so because of my rental portfolio and because of my renovations, I had a multitude of banks that we would use for funding. I'm not I don't have all this cash and not
Sure.
made of money, so we would put our down pay would have skin in the game, big
Right.
skin in the game, but we'd also finance the rest. Well, then I just started implementing through great advice from mentors of mine,
Mhm.
which is a key that I completely recommend. I would not be where I'm at today in real estate if it wasn't for Dan and Maria Odell and for Brian Buffini.
Mm.
Those are 2 mentors of mine that have been I just wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah.
And one piece of advice that Dan gave me was, "Hey, you really need to you got these relationships with these banks and you really need to infiltrate these things." So just like they're great into relocation business and there's people that are great into certain sectors and markets. And I saw and watched them infiltrate into relocation into these corporations and just grow within all the departments and all these different things. He's like, "Dude, you have an opportunity with these banks.
Mm.
What this market we're going into, you need to lean into what additional services you can provide." So from that, I was like, "Hey, well, if you start taking back these rehabbers' houses that are not complete and you foreclosed on, you're taking back builders' properties, undeveloped land, so on and so forth. Like, hey, we can be your one-stop shop. I'll finish the house for you. You got to fund it, but we'll finish it. We can oversee all the construction on it, the renovation on it, the design on it, and then we'll sell it for you, right? We've
Right.
already proven and shown them that we're a really good agent. And then they knew from buying houses and renting them and rehabbing them, they were like, okay, there might be a really good fit. So we started doing that for them. Finding those opportunities in a difficult market
Mhm.
is what really helped excel us. Then with COVID, it was all right. Nobody can buy a house, right?
Right.
Everybody's fighting over everybody, cash buyers, multiple offers, blah, 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 blah. So we were having clients that were sitting with my team, like, we might have been working with somebody for a year or, a year and a half, and we can't get them into a house, especially first time home buyers. So I was like, all right, what can we do different,
Yeah.
in this difficult market that you can't do? So we were like, all right, I'm going to start doing, we're losing out to every cash deal. So I was like, all right, I buy houses, renovate them,
Mhm.
all cash back guarantee on the contract. They're pre-approved, and I vetted them through our preferred lenders. But I said in the contract, if they don't buy it, I'll buy it cash.
Mm.
So then the sellers were able to, our clients then could compete. So it was finding another niche, another
Right.
service. Now, not can everybody do that? No, but I had built a relationship with these banks
Right.
to where then we could buy these properties. Ended up only having to buy one.
Mm.
And, but that's what got us over the hump, is finding a different niche and a different market to where we could do a cashback guarantee for our clients to be able to compete against everything else. Now, we don't do that anymore because we don't
Right.
have to,
Right.
but, and we took one back, we renovated it, put it on the market and sold it. And it knock on wood, everything went well. So,
And I mean, the ability for you to think differently during some of those challenging
mm,
times sounds like it's been almost your superpower in your real estate business, how you were able to take that advice and get in with those lenders and then become, like you mentioned, that one-stop shop. And then during COVID again, you put on that same hat going, "How can we solve a problem?"
yeah,
And that sounds like it's been one of your zones of genius, if you will, to really.
wouldn't call it genius, but finding the extra
Yeah.
edge. I mean, yeah, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, you're thinking
Yeah,
differently about a problem instead of just approaching it the same way that everybody else was at that time.
right.
You saw a problem and chose to find a different solution,
Yeah.
which is, it sounds like kind of a theme and a pattern maybe in your world too.
Might be. In real estate, and my wife hears me say it all the time, and my team, I truly believe we are problem solvers.
Yeah,
That's all we do for a living, is we get paid to solve problems.
sure.
They have a problem. They either have to buy something or sell
Mhm.
something. And behind that's always a story, right? Whether it's we got a bigger family, we got a blended family, we're getting divorced, we got an estate, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then within that, you start peeling back the onions. There's all of these problems. Then you get through inspections, you get through lending, you get through appraisals, you get everything
Yes.
ends up becoming a problem.
Right.
And so in order to be a great agent, you got to be a great problem solver.
Mhm.
And one of the my team hates to hear me say this, but in the last couple of years I've just completely latched onto this saying, which is don't take no for an answer.
Mm.
And it's not so much the sales side of it. It is in problem solving, don't take no, because everybody is going to take the easiest route out.
Right.
That appraiser is, that inspector is, the buyer's agent on the other end, hypothetically your buyer, the contractor, whatever. They're going to just be like, nah, we can't do that. No, everything can be solved and fixed. You just got to keep digging and digging and digging and find another solution. Or you're dealing with a utility company, you're dealing with so on and so forth. You're getting the hourly employee, you're getting AI,
Yeah.
you're getting nowhere. Well, you got to find another avenue. Go knock on the front door, go down to the business. Like there's always another way to solve it. So not taking no for an answer is one thing that has really helped set us apart from other competitors in the industry.
Yeah, and sounds like too just realizing what are the different tools you have, in your background, you've learned there's just not one way to do something.
Right.
You can approach it with not every problem needs a hammer.
Right. Right.
You've got so many tools now in your arsenal. Well, Miles, tell me, when did you decide to build Ross Real Estate Group? And what was kind of the evolution of you guys as solo agents and then moving on to like more of the team structure?
Yeah. Great question. So originally it was just me, and then my wife started to assist. We got 4 kids, and our whole goal was we wanted one parent to be a stay-at-home parent,
Mm,
right? Firm believer in in parenting and being present, and with the world today, I think there's a lot of lack of parenting
yeah,
going on,
for sure.
and there's a lot of the easy ways, and it's hard too, right? There's most households are dual income, and everybody's working and it's hard to manage both work and home life. But she decided to get out of stay at home and we started to raise the family. And then she started to help out because I knew if we were going to grow, I needed help.
Yeah.
So she kind of helped out originally, just kind of on the side. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to buck up and get my first assistant. So, it took too long.
Mm.
I shouldn't have done it. Might probably be farther ahead where I'm at now if I
Right.
made that decision, probably maybe even a year or two before. But, the hardest hire, the hardest employee is your first,
Yeah.
right? And that's where I see a lot of agents struggle is because you can't wear all the hats. If you want to grow and you want to continue to do, you've got to get help. Now, one of my biggest struggles was that I am not a good delegator because I have a certain way. I have systems in place. I'm very particular how to do it. You're putting my name to it, Rost Real Estate. And so that was hard for me to do. And the more I've been able to delegate, the better off I've been. Still struggle with it, still trying to grow through those. But I think you could ask my team this year, the last 2 years, I've delegated more than I ever have.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a long haul to get there. So from that and growing it, and it was the hardest hire was the first, and then I kind of, everybody does things different, right? Whether you get sales first or you get, administrative help on the back end, right? So I needed a support system.
Mm.
So I went after administrative help first versus then trying to grow sales teams. And most probably Gary Keller would tell you go give sales first and then back it up with support on the back end. But how I'm wired and my personality, I couldn't put my name to that. So I needed the help on the administrative side first. So once we got our transaction manager and we got our marketing manager in place, then that's when I went off and started trying to grow. All right, I need to
Yeah.
get some agents. So ended up getting 3 agents, and that's a whole another dynamic, right? There are
Right.
people that are great managers, there are people that are great teachers, and from that, you know, I ended up I felt like doing a little more work, right? I was more vested
Sure.
in them and growing their book of business,
Yeah.
and what I started losing sight of was mine.
Right. Right.
And I'm spending all this time outside of work building relationships, going to social events, going to charity events.
Yeah.
Like I make it very intentional to put myself to meet new people authentically.
Yeah.
And so then I built the COI and had all this, but now I'm spending all of my time with my team
Mm.
of agents that at the time weren't fully vested,
Yeah.
right? And maybe weren't all in and wanted to be more part-time or whatever. So I just found myself losing sight on my book of business. And
Mm.
I'm like, that's where the most revenue is. So probably about, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago, well, it started about 5 years ago, right before COVID, I decided to get small to get big.
Mm.
And so I ended up not letting two agents go, one of my admin go, and then keeping my best agent with me and moving her into a new role,
Mm.
which was in my world now is what I call sales assist. And so I can't be everywhere
Right.
um, to everyone. I can't, there's not two of me. And I want to have a life, and having 4 kids, there's all of their school activities and sporting events and, so on and so forth. And so like this weekend, I leave tonight to go to Dallas for 4 days with my daughter for soccer. Well, we can't shut down the business because
No.
I'm gone for 4 days.
Right.
So we kind of retooled. We got smaller to get bigger to really focus on my book of business. And so within that, we've been able to serve our clients so much better, of moving Nicole into that role to where now we kind of have 2 agents. She goes on every listing appointment, every buyer appointment with me, and she's on every phone call, every text chain, every email to where now if I'm doing something like this and the house just popped up, she's on top of it, right? She's
Right.
setting the appointment, doing this, that, and the other. So we kind of got small, and we still have 2 people on the team that are support staff. But now we're back to all right, now where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Now I've got my book where I've wanted, and
Sure.
we can continue to grow that and do it, but I've got the right people in place to help serve that.
Mhm.
Now it's like, all right, Do we want to grow more? Do we want to bring on agents again? Do we want to, so we're always at a crossroads. We got to adapt. We got to change. Everybody's personality is different. Everybody grows their business different. We've made a focus to do a lot more middle and high end, but we still work with $100,000 buyers and we work with $3 million buyers
Right.
and everything in between. But it's where you spend your time, where you focus your energy. I always, a mentor would say, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Well, I would say to a real estate agent, show me what you're doing outside of work
Mm.
and what you're doing there. And that's probably going to be a pretty good direct reflection of what your business is and your growth is.
Well said. Well said. Miles, you know, I've heard so many little nuggets in there. I mean, from number 1, you totally nailed the MREA. I mean, you guys followed it to a T from hiring your first admin TC, then adding your sales team, and then realizing that maybe you needed to pare it down to serve the business and really focus on what was the meat and potatoes, if you will, of what you guys were doing and going small to go big,
Yeah.
and then finding that copy of yourself where you could leverage yourself through
Right.
Nicole to grow.
Right.
What I've heard you say a couple things about how important it is to be a great parent and to be a great, like, to be all in and be present.
Yeah.
And I know in real estate, that is probably one of the biggest challenges is to be all things
Right.
to your clients, because I know service is so important, and then still be that amazing dad I'm sure you are and wanna be. Tell us how, that shows up for you.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, that's kinda you struck a chord with that one. Well, my better half, my wife is the champion. She is the most amazing wife, supporter, going through all this
Mm,
entrepreneurialism, ups and downs, cash flow, this, that, and the other, right? She's been the champion of doing that, but it's just been making it a priority. I can honestly say, I would probably be doing more volume and more transactions if I wasn't as hyper focused on being a intentional and at home involved parent.
mm,
I'm a firm believer in parenting, in accountability, in teaching, letting them fail. Like if you let them fail early on, it's going to be a much better failure than later in life, right?
right.
I've got 4 amazing kids. I got 3 boys and a girl. We've got our youngest are twins, boy, girl, and then we've got 2 older boys. And there's nothing greater than the compliments I receive,
Mm,
from other parents and from friends and family about our kids. They are their own individuals. They're doing it on their own, but I'm a firm believer that we've helped support them
yeah.
of where they're at in their life right now, right? And they're gonna have their ups and downs, and they're gonna make mistakes and all this, but I can absolutely tell you we have sacrificed part of our business and our growth and making more money to be present with our kids
Mm,
and to be there. And and there's a season. There's always seasons in life, right?
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we're coming on the tail end. You never stop parenting, but my twins are sophomores in high school now, and we've got a senior in high school and we've got a senior in college. So hopefully soon, one's off the payroll here in May. And we've started to free up more time, right? My wife's not driving everywhere. I'm not driving with her when we got to divide and conquer with 4 kids. We're starting to gain some of that time back. They're more independent. We've sacrificed a lot in the
Mm,
early years to then get the reward later. And I think that will allow us to buy some of that time back in the business and pour more into it
right.
to help us grow even more, but we never lost focus and we were never going to sacrifice that because that's the most
Mm,
important thing. And I come from a broken home.
mm,
My dad's been married 4 times. My mom's since passed away. I've got full blood. I've got half blood. I've got step. Every family has, if there's no perfect family,
sure.
there is so many integral things. I always laugh at people like they're telling me, I'm like, dude, every family's messed up and and everybody in the family, there's so much behind that time
Right.
back. And I'm like, all right, I made a choice very early on of seeing so many divorces so many broken relationships within family, so on and so forth. And then admiring my wife's side of the family, where she grew up in a very structured home and great parenting and all the things that I aspire that I wanted to see are kinda I took the blend of the 2, you leave the bad, and you
Right.
take the good, right? And there
Right.
was a lot of good that I got from my family, but it was a choice that, I call it there's one word you cannot say in my house, and it's the D word,
Mm.
like, not an option,
Yeah.
not an option. Like, no, 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 don't even say the word.
Mm.
That's like, I mean, total blasphemy if you say that word. So, it just what is it gonna do to take to make sure that the family is together, that you're raising good kids, that you are loyal to your wife, that you are trying to do everything to model, to show your
Mm.
kids because they're watching every day whether you realize it or not, and how you treat your spouse,
Right.
right? And so and I am not perfect. I got so much room to grow and continue to be my wife is a saint to put up with me, but, it was learn from childhood of what
Mm.
I knew I didn't want that I got from childhood, and that is why it's such a huge component of why we made those sacrifices in the business and where we put our priorities, and we're seeing the fruits of the labor because I couldn't be more proud dad than my 4 kids.
Yeah. I mean, those dividends pay off so much
Yeah,
differently than any commission transaction that you could ever receive, and it sounds like you did such a great job of spending time on what matters most and the moments that matter most
right,
versus just running up a ladder, of volume or units, and it can be so charming, that illusion of more is more, and sometimes when is enough,
right.
you know?
Now, don't think that I don't struggle with it too, right? Because
Sure.
I have high expectations of myself.
Right.
I wanna be doing more volume, I wanna be doing more
Mhm.
transactions, I wanna I've got goals in life financially that I wanna, get to where, money's not so much that, being a billionaire or something like that, that's not even within the realm, but to where I can make a lot of decisions and not have to make them from a financial
Sure.
decision. I wanna do this, I wanna go do that, I wanna share this experience, I wanna, travel the world, so on and so forth. So, I'm always wrestling with that because I put the hardest person on me is myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm always wrestling with that. And I have my ups and downs. It's like, you have a great year and then you follow up with not a great year. And it's like, what I
Mhm.
feel like I'm doing nothing different. And so I'm always wrestling with that. But it's just, you know, there are the things that are non-negotiable
Yeah.
and you got to set those in your life.
Well, Miles, when what you've built something amazing. What does that next level of success look like for you in real estate or in terms of legacy? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, good question. I think being able to build the company to where it is more predictable. It's predictable, but I want it to be even more predictable. And I want my team to be happier. I want them to reach the goals that they want to reach. And I've always had additional aspirations. I want to grow one of the best teams or maybe not one of the best or biggest, but one of the best serving groups and be one of the best agents in Kansas City. As
Mm.
long as I can put my name to it, that's what I care most about. But I also love the investment side
Yeah.
and where that growth looks like. I don't know someday whether it's into building or remodeling or development or something like that. I just love that aspect of it. But what I never wanna do is lose focus of the agency side because that is what's gonna fuel these other investment sides,
Mhm.
and, we keep getting our clients they've seen the 58 houses we've renovated, they've seen what I've done with my own personal properties, and they've got us coming we started doing this some since COVID, which is they want us to remodel the house for 'em.
Mm.
They're like, "Hey, we've
Well,
seen what you did in this
yeah.
renovation, can you do it for us?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know," like, that's and we keep getting more and more demand of
Sure.
that, and so that's one thing you say, "Where are we going? What do we think?" That's One thing I'm wrestling with right now is, do we start to offer that
Yeah,
level of service for our clients? It's a whole nother ballgame and a whole nother animal. But it's like, well, if we're providing this service here, you
right.
know, one of the one of the things people struggle with, also us as agents, but buyers and homeowners, is good
That's
contractors,
right.
right?
That's right.
Are they do they return your call? Do they say they're gonna do what they do? Are they gonna show up on time? Are they not on,
Or push your
you know
project out for
yeah, and
6 weeks.
exactly, and finding straight-laced people and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. So, we're kinda starting to get that calling a little bit of like, all right, we're getting hit up enough to where
Mhm.
our clients want us to do that for them, that I that might be one of the next
I know, I can
chapters.
see it. Rost Renovations.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Well, I love that. That sounds like right up your alley and kind of what you've been building this whole time, is really that focus on your business, your family, and then that next piece. In terms of lifestyle legacy, what do you see for you and your family coming up in the next 5, 10 years?
What do you mean by elaborate on lifestyle legacy?
You know, what's important, I mean, obviously kids are getting older, growing up, you're gonna have more time to yourself. What does Miles' life and your wife's life look like together, as a family? What are some things that are important to you guys to focus on in this next chapter of your life?
Yeah, I'd say next chapter is getting them set up to enter the workforce
Mhm.
and to get into the real world, right? To be self-sufficient, to be good stewards of their name and creating a name for themselves, to be good hard workers and find their calling and what they want to do. So really trying to champion our kids
Mm,
in their next phase of their life, going into college and then going into the workforce. That's kind of probably the biggest thing that's most important to me right now. And as we start to buy some of that time back, making these decisions, where do we want to go with our company and what do we want to do? And then probably after that is going to be the hard part is then them probably starting their lives. And if they start their families and all of that, I don't even wanna say grandparent, I can't even put my head or wrap my head around it. Be all in, can't wait, but I don't need that to come too soon. We got a lot of things we need to do before that, but if it does, it does. It is what
Oh, I bet you'd be a great grandpa.
it is. I would be the fun one and,
Yes.
probably acting probably a little younger than I should.
I might even keep you, younger, right?
That's true, that's true.
Kids have a funny way of doing that.
Yes, yeah.
Well, Miles, what advice would you give to anyone, maybe an agent out there that's feeling stuck or overwhelmed or just, small in that journey, kind of like you felt maybe you were when you first started? What advice would you give them?
Yeah. Just, keep grinding. It takes a lot to make it in this business, and you gotta weather the storm.
Mm,
And if you have to supplement your income, like I kind of weeded my way out
yeah,
of medical sales with the end gaming plan to completely cut it off. But it wasn't until I completely cut it off, and I'm not telling people to go do that, but that's where then it forced me, I'm all in, like,
right.
I got no other option, but you gotta be all in.
Mm,
If you're just dipping your toe in these different things and another never forget Joe Nigo said, he learned really early into this business, he's one of Brian Buffini's best friends, he said, "Everybody thinks they're gonna try real estate out.
mm,
Real estate will try you out." Like,
yes.
no, like, and I have not I see it all the time.
Yes.
Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go try real estate," and then, like, "Oh, I just got laid off," or, "I'm gonna quit the corporate world," or, I'm just gonna kinda do this on the side." The best piece of advice, if you wanna be successful in it, is you cannot just dip your toe in it.
Mm,
It will eat you up. You gotta be all in, and I would say find mentors.
yeah,
Find mentors, people that you look up to and people that you respect and people that are walking the walk that you want to walk.
mm,
So I knew in this business early, I knew I was relational. Play to your strengths. I knew that building a business by referral was my cup of tea.
sure.
And that's just me. That's
Yeah,
how I'm wired, play to my strengths. So, there are so many other avenues that people are so great at,
right.
right? And they've built it that way. but find the mentors that
Mm.
are in the business that is how you aspire to build the business and latch on. And people will give more advice to you than you think. And and find local and national, right? It's you can network with other agents across the country. It doesn't just have to be in our Keller Williams office. It doesn't just have to be in Kansas City. You can find other agents outside of Kansas City in groups,
Mm.
whether it's through KW, through other referral partnerships across the country, but find people that are like-minded and
Yeah,
latch onto them because it's a lonely world out there, especially if it's just you and you don't have a support team. You need people to hold you accountable,
that's right.
and you need people to show you the way. And don't make it so complicated, right? Just like I followed, I put my head down and hey, this is what they're doing. They're successful. I see it. Those are the kind of people that I aspire to be. That's how they run a business is how I want to run it. So I just started following it and asking, and there's enough fish in the sea. There's enough business out there.
Yes.
And I always had the philosophy, if I ever came up against my mentor in a listing appointment, hey, you're in great hands. There's like, this is my way of saying thank you. Like, that is a great agent. You should go with them,
Yeah.
and I will go somewhere else because there are other
Mm.
opportunities out there, and that's my way to pay it forward back to them for what
Mm.
they did for me. Now, luckily, I haven't had to have do that a lot, and you don't come across as much as you would think.
Mm.
But yeah, finding a mentor and being all in is probably the best advice I can give in
I love
the
that.
future.
That is huge. Well, Miles, thank you so much for your words of wisdom, for sharing your story with us. Tell us, where can we find you out there on social media in the world? People have questions, want to contact you. What's the best way to get in touch
Yeah,
with
I
you?
mean, you can call me on my cell phone. It's if you want to talk to me direct,
Mm.
I'll pick up the phone. We the Rost group on Facebook, Instagram. You can follow us there. I'm on LinkedIn, our website, rostrealestate.com or the rostgroup.com. But cell phone's probably the best way to get a hold of me, you know. I'm happy to share. I don't have secrets. I've learned from people that have done it and they've been happy to share as well. So there's enough business out there to make everybody be successful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Miles. We really
Yeah,
appreciate you.
you're welcome. Thank you for the time.
Yes.